For a long time, I wondered why we do the things that we do. Why seemingly the things that we prize are also happen to be prized by society, and the things that we despise also seem to be hated by society. For me, this was really an interesting question, and I found an answer, one of many, within Louis Althusser's The Ideological State Apparatuses. This is a work that he put out, and this will be mainly what I'm talking about within this video. Now, before we dive too deep into how we got to an ideological state apparatus and where that term sort of came from, perhaps it's best to come up with sort of a basic definition. To me, my understanding of an ideological state apparatus is that these are the institutions within our society that help to shape our actions and who we are without using violence. And that's the major demarking point for it. While there's many other intricacies to it, ultimately it's how they affect us and the structure of our society. Now, in order to understand where Althusser is coming from, we have to understand what he's building his theory off of. A lot of what Althusser responds to is Karl Marx's work. And in particular, the one theory that Althusser really hones in on is Marx's idea on how society is constructed. For example, Marx posited that society as we know it is built of an infrastructure and a superstructure. And the way this works is that the infrastructure is the economic base on which everything is built. The superstructure is placed on top of that, and is independent from it. And with the superstructure, it consists of our political and legal institutions, like the police and other law-abiding agencies. And the other half of it is ideology, which would be our morals, our political, religious, personal values on a lot of different things. Well, within this superstructure, Marx had sort of worked out something that he called a repressive state apparatus. That the first half of what I had said, the political and legal institutions, they kept order and propagated society off of violence. And Althusser really wants to flesh out more of the opposite side, of the ideological side, coining the term ideological state apparatuses, and using that to really describe the plethora of religions, as opposed to the totalitarian religion, the plethora of governments and cultures, and how all of these different things, while contrasting, are given by choice. They're adopted not by violence, but by sort of subconscious acceptance. Now, all of this sort of comes together when we look at how both Marx and Althusser viewed society. In that society is only sustainable by the people within society. People have to choose what to believe and what to do and how to do it and be content with it. And no one is born with the knowledge, and no one is born with the understanding of how our society works. At least this is how the theory goes. Instead, that society itself preens over everyone within it, and it shapes and molds them to accept the values that it gives. Now, this can be seen in a lot of different ways, and through a lot of different methods, but in short, the ideological state apparatus helps to mold people to accept society so that society can continue to propagate. That it never really has to change too much because people are constantly accepting and then enacting and accepting and enacting the same policies over and over again. And it does this through education, and this is where the ideological part comes in. Not really through violence per se, although there are forms of punishment within the ideological state apparatuses. People can be shunned from private circles or punished within education without it being directly a result of violence. But because of this, society keeps itself going. And that is the essential idea behind the ideological state. Ultimately, that's the end game of the theory. that through our nonviolent ISAs, through our religion and our education, we are taught to believe one thing, and to then we repropagate that idea. Whether it's how to achieve peace on Earth or how to write a novel, by having the proper ways and not really challenging them, the ISAs continue to function as a guiding force of society without using the heavy hand that Marx had originally envisioned. This later gives way to a lot of theories, such as the panopticon, which is vitally important in how we sort of analyze our behavior within society, and the idea of control through observation. And as a whole, Althusser's work helps to really encourage us to understand ourselves and our society and have a means to change it. And I think that's the greatest part of the contribution, is that by understanding who we are and what we do, we are given an opportunity to analyze it rhetorically and make change, whether it's in theory or in practice.